What's up, guys? This is the Musical Nihilist, and you're watching a showcase of our cube draft. My opponent is actually the other owner of the draft. We made this draft a few years ago, and we were finally able to get together to show off a few duels. So, the draft is no longer a pure singleton draft. Although all the monsters are singleton, we did increase the number of certain spells and traps in order to make the games a bit more interesting. Herman starts off with a set monster and a set back row and passes it back to me. I normal summon the Dragonies and attempt to attack over his face down monster, and it ends up being an Abyss Snare, which ends up dealing 500 points of defense damage to my life points. I set 3 back row and pass it back to Herman, who sets another monster face down and sets 2 back row and passes it back to me. I try to push forward with the reasoning. Herman calls level 3, but I reveal Skilled Dark Magician, which is a level 4, so it ends up getting special summoned, and I proceed with a Shield and Sword to switch the attack and defense of all monsters on the field to try to attack over his Abyss Snare, and in response to my attack, he activates a Windstorm of Atequa, switching my monster's defense position, so I end up passing it back to him. He sets a back row and passes back to me, and I try to push forward with Ape Fighter and attack his face down defense position monster, and it ends up being a Pelta, which deals 100 more defense damage to my life points. And I put my Skilled Dark Magician back to attack mode and pass it back to him. Herman responds by tribute summoning a Buster Blader, and he also triggers the Abyss Snare's effect in the grave to draw and discard a card, and he ends up discarding the Paleozoic Hallucigena, but I destroy the Buster Blader with my Badak Blast, which deals burn damage to both of our life points. And there was a bit of a misunderstanding. Herman does try to activate the effect of Paleozoic Hallucigena, but I told him that he couldn't activate the effect the same turn that it was sent to the graveyard. But after rereading the card, it turns out he was allowed to do that. So that's just to explain why it's on the field now. In response to my attack, he activates Storming Mirror Force, which bounces all the cards to my hand from the field. And in main phase 2, I activate the effect of Danger Jackalope to attempt to special summon it. And out of 5 cards, Herman actually discards the Jackalope, which allows me to special summon a Danger monster from the deck in defense position. So I resolve its effect by special summoning Danger Bigfoot from the deck on the field in defense position. However, I don't think that Bigfoot's going to last very long since it only has 0 defense. Herman cuts my deck and I pass it back to him, and he proceeds by attacking over my Bigfoot with his Paleozoic monster. However, during the end phase, I do respond with an Oasis of Dragon Souls to special summon the Bigfoot again in defense position, and he passes it back to me. So on the main phase, I summon Card Trooper to mill 3 cards, and it's actually really funny. I end up milling the Graceful Charity, and I switch the Bigfoot to attack position, and with Card Trooper, I attempt to attack over it and end up dealing 500 damage to its life points, and the Hallucigena gets banished. And during the damage step, he special summons the Tragodia from the hand, and in response to my Bigfoot's attack, he actually has Magic Cylinder, dealing 3000 damage directly to my life points. And in his turn, he draws Pot of Greed, drawing 2 more cards, and then he activates the Monarch Stormforth, tributing my Bigfoot, and he tribute summons the Endless Decay. Endless Decay gains 1550 attack, since my life points are relatively low, and he puts his Tragodia in attack mode. He sets a back row and activates a Mage Power, boosting his Endless Decay to 3050, but reducing his Tragodia to 0, and he attacks over my Card Trooper for 2600 damage. Card Trooper lets me draw another card, and I try to make a comeback with Ape Fighter, supported by my Dragonies to attack over his Endless Decay. And in response to my attack, Herman actually responds with Soul and Luna, putting 2 cards on the field in defense position. And with not much else to do, I just pass it back to Herman. And it's not looking very good for me. He flip summons the Tragodia, which only has 600 attack, and proceeds to the battle phase. He attacks over my Ape Fighter, and he deals direct damage with his Tragodia, ending round 1 and leading us into round 2. So yeah, pretty swift victory for Herman. Since I lost, I decided to go first and draw for turn. I open with Painful Choice, revealing a Tempest, Dark Blade, Flammable Guard, DMZ Dragon, and Sir from the deck, and Herman decides to give me the Dark Blade. I follow up with a Reasoning. Herman calls level 4 this time, but I end up revealing a Kaiser Glider, which is level 5. I follow up with Pot of Desires, banishing 10 cards from the top of my deck so I can draw 2 cards. And well, you guys are gonna laugh when you guys see the 10 cards that I banished off, but you'll see that later. So I end off by normal summoning a Good Witch, and I end up just passing it back to Herman. So I'm hoping the Good Witch can help hold down my field. He opens up a Graceful Charity, drawing 3 cards and discarding 2, so he discards the Vampire Lord and Beat Raptor. And here I decided to show off the cards that I banished off of Pot of Desires. I was actually kind of counting on those cards to help me win, but oh well. So Herman sets a monster and 2 more back row and passes it back to me, and I normal summon a Fairy Tale Sleeper during my main phase, and I banish 2 dragons from my grave to special summon the Tempest and attempt to attack over his face down monster with Tempest, and he reveals a Morphing Jar number 2, which shuffles my whole field back into my deck and forces me to excavate 4 cards from the top of my deck and send them to the graveyard. And I end up setting the Card Trooper in defense position. Herman retaliates with an Assault Beast and activates Call the Haunted to bring back the Vampire Lord, beating over my Card Trooper and lets me draw a card. And then he deals direct damage with Vampire Lord and activates his effect to force me to send a trap card from the deck to the grave. And I end up sending the Adhesion Trap Hole from my deck since I don't think it would be very useful. On my turn, I banish 1 Dark, 1 Earth, and 1 Wind. I need them to be different attributes because I'm summoning the Arch Nemesis Protos from the hand, and he quickly responds with a Solemn Judgment. In his words, he didn't know what it was, but he didn't want to find out and deal with it, which is fair. And I follow up with a Ghost Spirit of Bewitchment and summon it to the leftmost column so it can gain 1000 attack and use it to beat over the Vampire Lord, dealing I think 300 damage to his life points. He draws for turn and he attributes his Assault Beast to summon the Vampire Dragon and attacks over my Bewitchment, beating it by 100 life points. He sets an additional back row and passes it back, and I try to respond with a Skilled Dark Magician and try to support it with a Shield and Sword since the Vampire Lord only has 0 defense. I'm able to attack over easily, but it does net Herman a search. And with not much else, I end up passing it back to him. So yeah, things are not looking good for me. He may be low on life points, but he's ahead in resources. During his main phase, he activates Pot of Avarice, shuffling back 5 monsters so that he can draw 2 cards. And it's actually really funny because he ends up drawing into Pot of Greed, drawing him 2 more cards and netting him more card advantage. But he follows up by just setting 1 monster and 1 back row and passes it back to me. Now, during my turn, I summon Fairy Tale Sleeper and attempt to attack over his face down monster with my Skilled Dark Magician, and Herman reveals that it's a Gradle, and he activates his effect in Grave to take over my Fairy Tale Sleeper, which actually caught me by surprise. I'm not sure why he did that since Skilled Dark Magician has more attack, but the Gradle does trigger his Bayrick Dragon from the hand, special summoning it, and with not much else to follow up on, I just pass it back to him. Herman sets a card, and it's not looking good for me because he activates a Mage Power, which gives his Bayrick Dragon 2000 additional attack. Since he gains 500 attack for each spell and trap card he controls, including the Gradle monster that is equipped to my Sleeper, and he swings for a lot of damage, and it's not looking very good for me. I try to come back with Phantom of Chaos, and I banish the Arch Nemesis Protos from the grave so I can copy its effect and attack, and I call Dinosaur so I can destroy all dinosaurs in the field, and that ends up dealing with the Bayrick Dragon. and I attempt to attack over my sleeper, but he responds with a rush recklessly, giving it 700 more attack, boosting it to 2550 and dealing 50 life points to me. During his turn, he sets one back row, but he realizes that he can just attack for game, which is what he does in the battle phase, reducing my life points to 0. So yeah, thanks a lot guys, I had a lot of fun playing and editing this video, and I hope the next one goes better for me. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and take care guys.